Gate, JT, on a Modelo Friday. Modelo. I reward myself with a bucket of Modelos every Friday. I got a little Raider event in the early evening, so we'll save that for later tonight. And we'll get after it today for 2 hours. I couldn't wait to get on the radio today after having the pleasure of calling that game on radio last night. And boy, do I have a lot to say, as Modelo is our proud partner of the Raiders training camp. All the training camp. And Modelo is a big part of why I'll be in Houston next week. They call it H-Town, Houston. Haven't been there since the last Super Bowl. I don't even know where that was. But we're going to see a good practice, at least one good practice, and we'll have some good access. So I'm excited about that. So we're ready to roll today. Today's a good day to get on the phones. You have not failed me on the phones, but I am not judging you yet. I judge you the week of the first regular season game against Miami. I will judge you then. I will judge you like you judge me every day. And every day I bring my A game, and I never let you down. Because at least if it's not perfect, I got passion, I got energy. So I'm going to judge you the week of Miami. If you'd like to call in before that, give us a call if you went to the game last night and give us your honest opinion on everything that went down in the game last night. I'll go first before we get to the play-by-play. Play-by-play is cool for me because my dad's 88 years old and he gets to listen. And that's pretty cool for me. That's the reason I do this. The Raiders are kind enough to give me this opportunity when Jason Horowitz ends up going on the television side and I get a chance to call these radio games. And it's part of my life with the Raiders. It's something I've enjoyed the last few seasons. I hope you enjoy it. It's not perfect, but I think it's pretty good with the team I work with because I just try to let those guys tell stories. And Matt Millen is one of the most accomplished football analysts ever on Fox. He still is known to be on the Mount Rushmore of Fox analysts. Okay, forget about Troy Aikman when he was there. Forget about all the other people. John Madden, Matt Millen. Matt Millen took over for John Madden. Okay, so we get a chance to work with him is nuts. And then the new Hall of Famer, Eric Allen, who has a lot of fun. EA's there, but he knows a lot about the team, man. He really does. So here's what we're talking about today, what I saw in the game. Because we had a little bit of extra access. We sat down with Clint Kubiak. We had a production meeting with Rob Leonard, defensive coordinator, Tyler Linderbaum, and Nakobe Dean. And they were there. Okay, so normally you get the quarterbacks. Normally you get a quarterback like Kirk Cousins or Fernando. We didn't. Those are who we had. We knew going in that Fernando was going to play. I didn't tell you. It's not a big secret, but it's not my job to tell you what we have in that meeting. And then we knew that they were going to be very vanilla on defense. Very vanilla on defense. They weren't blitzing. They weren't showing anything. Nothing. That's what happens in the preseason. So slow your roll. Calm down. Calm down when you look at a preseason game because you can look at the positives, you can look at the negatives. There were both last night, plenty of both. And then you can take away what the team is doing and how Clint Kubiak is building this team. So let me begin before we get to the sound bites that became the highlights of the game. As we open up, and also you can catch the show live on YouTube right now at JT The Brick. We're approaching a pretty good number for us. We'd like you to be a new subscriber. We're going to have some stuff for our newbies coming in here. Go to YouTube, JT The Brick, and thanks for listening on the radio. So what they wanted to do last night was to get Cousins to go early and for Fernando to play well. Boom. They nailed it. It was great. It wasn't good. I thought it was above average. Kirk Cousins looked fantastic. He came out there as good as you could be. Boom, boom, boom. Touchdown we'll get to. Big Mike. Everything looked good. Fernando came in and played a long period of time. If you were fortunate enough to be in the building last night, you will say forever, for the rest of your life, to your grandkids, if you're lucky to have them, that you were there the night Fernando Mendoza threw his first touchdown. It's preseason, not regular season, but that matters. That matters because that's important. And Fernando played well. Man, did he play well. They led with him on SportsCenter and all the shows today. So that looked good. Max Crosby didn't play. Brock Bowers played one play. Ashton had a nice run or two. They got him out of the game. Mike Washington Jr. was a beast. That was good to see. So the first team offense, finally the offensive line had a couple of pancakes. And the offensive line were pushing forward instead of getting pushed back. You all saw that, led by Tyler Linderbaum. Jack Besh had an outstanding ball game. Jack Besh, who I've been calling on to have a big game, and who's the other guy I've been calling on? Oh, that would be Michael Mayer. I've been screaming for years to get Michael Mayer going. So they were able to get those two guys going, which was really important. And Malik Benson and Mike Washington Jr., two really good rookie pieces, I thought played well. So that's all good. Everybody should be excited about that and lining up here to call in on those guys that I just mentioned, 702-365-9200. Now, what I didn't like about this is that Gardner Minshew couldn't throw an incomplete pass. Knowing that they were going to go vanilla, knowing that they weren't going to show anything because they're going to play Arizona later in the year, you still got to guard. You still got to cover. Period. You got to. And last night they couldn't cover you or me. Is that a concern? A little bit. A little bit of a concern. Because you got to be able to guard someone in front of you. Period. I don't care if there's no corner blitz, there's no NASCAR package, there's no nothing, safety coming up front in the box. I don't care. When you are guarding another player on the opposition, you have to guard that player. I don't care if it's basketball and you play for the Lakers, or if it's hockey and you play for the Golden Knights, or you play defense for the Las Vegas Raiders. You got to guard somebody. And last night, I don't think they guarded well. Now, Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker were out there, and that looked good. That looks good. Quay Walker was running around putting his helmet in the pile. I like that. You can look at Cody Lindenberg. You can have some opinions on other players, Tommy Eichenberg. You know, calling the game, I saw most of it, but sometimes you don't see a guy coming in on the back end to make a play this or that perfectly until you see the tape. So that penalties being an issue, I'm all right with that in the preseason because this coach is no joke when it comes to penalties. You will pay. You will pay with this coaching staff if you are a frequently penalized player. You will not play, period. You're just not because of what we've seen with Clint Kubiak, Gary Kubiak, his dad, Mike McCoy, some of the other, Rick Dennison, some of the veteran coaches here. If you can't be a solid player and not be penalized, you will not play here. Period. Now, again, there's going to be a penalty every once in a while to Colt Miller or Tyler Linderbaum or Brock Bowers. Okay. But if you're trying to make the team, you better clean it up. So that's my overview of the game. I thought overall the Raiders, I care about the first 8 to 10 minutes of the game. That's what I care about. I knew that Cousins was going to get only one series. He was fantastic. Fantastic. Look at Kubiak cooking with Cousins. Unbelievable. And then Mendoza came in, and Fernando threw a couple of bullets that everybody looked around and said, oh, my God, that's different. Oh, my God, that looks different. Going back to Derek Carr the last time. You know, all these quarterbacks in the NFL, Aiden O'Connell. By the way, Aiden didn't stand a chance last night in the fourth quarter. He didn't stand a chance. That guy's been through a tough road. Aiden O'Connell, man. That guy is a good guy. Throwing him in as a third-string guy with backups, that's tough. But that's the bed that's been made for him, and he's going to have to deal with it for now. But Fernando looked really good. And Fernando was in control of the pocket. He looked good under center. Remember everybody, Dan Orlovsky, and everybody confused and concerned. Well, he's never been under center. How's he going to be under center? Oh, be quiet. He's a professional quarterback. He's the Heisman Trophy winner. He played in the shotgun set. He has no problem getting under center, and I thought he played well under center last night, which is good. So with everything, I thought the offensive line had some highlights, some pancakes, some good plays. The receiving corps, led by Jack Besh and Malik Benson. Two guys we've been talking about for weeks. Where's Jack? No one's seen Jack. Where, even at practice, I'll say to someone next to me, what's going on with Besh? Where is he? I don't even see him out there. Besh arrived last night. That's how he could work in the Kubiak offense, which is fantastic. Big Mike. Oh, my God. Isn't it nice when Michael Mayer is not double covered? Isn't it nice when they put Michael Mayer in the flat and he's able to make a play? Isn't that good to see? Because that's all he did in college at Notre Dame, winning the Mackey Award, and he hasn't done it in the pros. It's once every 6 weeks. They throw him the ball where it matters. I hope that changed last night. I think it's going to. And we've been preaching hard for that. And Max not playing changes everything. And then Jamad McCoy, getting burnt a couple of times. I'm just happy the guy's playing. The guy wasn't even going to be in the league. The guy dropped to the Raiders in a 4th-round pick. He could have been a top 10 pick before his injury. Could be a legend. But he didn't have his best night last night. I don't think the secondary played great overall. And I'm not concerned about it yet. But I'm a big believer if you play cornerback in the NFL. We have too many specialty corners now. Too many slot guys, too many guys who can't do everything. Willie Brown could do everything. Lester Hayes, Mike Haynes, Willie Brown. You look at the greats, Charles Woodson, Eric Allen, who I worked with last night. They didn't care if it was a soft cover 2 shell. They didn't care if their coaches were going vanilla. They guarded someone. They just got up against a guy and they guarded him. Will we have players here who can handle the responsibility of covering people on defense? That's a massive takeaway for me. But I'm being very guarded with my comments today because I'm a massive Rob Leonard fan, personally, on and off the field. And I know he knows what he's doing. And I know they weren't going to show anything last night for preseason obvious reasons. But I'd like to see guys who can guard. If we were playing pickup basketball, Clay Baker, in Venice Beach, and you were guarding someone over there, and I wasn't going to come over, and Q wasn't going to come over and double team and help you, I would hope you'd be able to guard the guy at Venice Beach, or while you're there, if you can't guard him. I want to see some of these guys be able to guard people all year long, from training camp to Houston to the Niner game, and prove that they deserve to be on the field.
Yeah, we heard all camp long they were very sticky, and they were doing that kind of action. But when the game came on, after a while, if you're 15 for 15, that's a real worry, especially when Gardner Minshew isn't Dan Marino. Yeah. So it wasn't like it was the most exotic offensive attack. It was one that was very basic and seemed to be very guardable.
I'll tell you a little insight here. At halftime, when I went to the restroom, there's a lot of people there. I come out of the restroom and come out, and I'm talking to the new play-by-play voice of the Cardinals. JP, a guy I go back with. He was with the Jaguar organization. I spent a lot of time out in St. Augustine and Jacksonville, so we know of each other, radio guys. He worked at Westwood One. And he looked at me, and I go, this is his first ever game he's calling for the Cardinals. He hadn't even moved there yet. He's moving from Jacksonville this week, going home to move. And I go, what'd you think? And he goes, we haven't thrown a incomplete pass. I go, I know. I called every one of them. I go, yeah, there hasn't been an incompletion yet for Arizona into the third quarter. That can't happen. Come on. That can't happen. I mean, you can't have Gardner Minshew. You can't have them go 15 for 15 at one point with Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew. And a couple of the passes were legit. So I'm trying to keep it real here. But as I told you, enjoy the rest of your summer. I am. I ain't going crazy. My wife's like, relax. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not blowing gaskets. I'm not having, crazy moments. I'm not screaming. It's August. But we take this very seriously. We watched the game last night. We went through it all with you. And I want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. All right, let's get to some of the sound bites. And I haven't heard most of this. Clay sent me the touchdowns this morning, which I really appreciate. But here's the first catch as Kirk Cousins was the starter in the game, and he went to Jack Besh. Kirk looking left here, throwing to the side. Nice. Caught Jack Besh right at the marker, and Jack Besh showing emotion as the Raiders pick up their first down of the preseason. That was important. Cousins wanted to go to Besh. That's a scripted play. They wanted to go to Besh. Okay, they could have gone anywhere else. They want to get Besh going. I think you could see that there. Then for Mike Mayer, this meant a lot to me because I've been a champion of Michael Mayer just in principle, that he needs to be used better. I don't care what the coaching staffs that were in the past, I think they failed him. And I've said that on the record. I think they failed Michael Mayer, the coaches in the past, by not utilizing him correctly. I was excited that he scored the first touchdown of the preseason. Michael Mayer on the left side at tight end, Jack Besh next to him, Trey Tucker far left, and Jalen Naylor on the right side. Kirk looking left the whole way, throws it in the flat to Michael Mayer. He's got to make someone miss. That's a touchdown. Las Vegas Raiders, Big Mike. Michael Mayer makes the move. He's in the end zone. Touchdown. 6-0 Silver and Black. All right, that was fun to call a Michael Mayer touchdown in the preseason, and he had to make someone miss as I made the call. I don't know who's there. I don't know who's guarding him. Are you nuts? I don't know who's playing. I don't know who's guarding Michael Mayer in space. I'm just trying to get the call right, and Michael Mayer had to make someone miss, and he did. Showed you a little shake and bake. Little shake and bake right there as he gets the touchdown. That was really good. Then Mendoza comes in, and he's locked in with Jack Besh, who clearly he had a lot of trust in. On a third down, a little bit of pressure. Fernando looking right the whole way. Going up in the air for an outstanding catch again is Jack Besh. Enough for a first down, and this is what we've wanted to see from Jack Besh. Be that possession receiver on third down, EA, and he comes through and makes a big catch for Fernando Mendoza. For Fernando finding Besh, and he talked about that in the postgame. We'll get to that. And then Malik Benson. This throw from Mendoza is the throw that everybody should be talking about because of how he thread the needle, how he read the play, threw it into coverage, and the ball was placed perfectly. Fernando, play action. Fernando looks down the middle. Nice. Benson catches it around the 40. Great play action by Fernando as he throws a strike right down the middle of the field.
That's exactly where it needed to be, too. It was in between the coverage. Ball came out. Comes out of his hand really nice. That's a really good throw.
Yeah, Matt Millen there. How about that? Matt Millen. Getting on that call, which was fantastic. And then the Washington run, which was really cool because, we had Zamir White. Zamir White went to Georgia. Zamir White was supposed to be really, really good. And he landed with another team. Good for him. But there's something about Mike Washington Jr. on this run. You saw a little bit of everything. Two-back set, Jack Besh in motion. Benson to the far right. Fernando going to hand it off to Washington Jr. up the middle. He's got room. He kicks it out to the left. He's going down the left side. 40, 30, 20. Can he cut inside? Brought down at the 13-yard line. There was the burst when he found the hole. Bounced out to the left for a big gain. Love that. Love that. The fact that he was able to show you that speed, that size, and make a play like that. Fantastic. Fantastic. That's really an important play because on that play, there were a couple of pancake blocks, and Jack Besh made a great crackback block. Clay Baker, that's what everybody's talking about today, is that Jack Besh on that play, when I called him in motion, came up the middle and just cracked, I think, a linebacker there that opened up the big run for Washington Jr.
Yeah, and that's why Jack Besh should stay on the field for plays like that.
Yes.
And, Charles Grant also had a big block on it. That shows you that there's a real emphasis on blocking, especially in the run game. That's wonderful to see.
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic. That showed a lot of what the Raiders could be. Now, that would have been Ashton Genty's 53-yard gain if he was in the game, you would think. But he wasn't in the game. And Ashton Genty can't be in the game on every play. And Mike Washington Jr., when he comes in, can do something special like that. So I thought that was a very, very important play in the game. Very important play in the game. And I thought that everybody in the booth was excited. EA, you hear EA in the background. He's loving this. You hear guys say you got to put your foot in the ground and make people miss. And I thought that was fantastic. So that was an important point in the game that I was excited about, and I thought it was really important. Then the Mendoza first touchdown ever in his NFL career at Allegiant Stadium. Here it is. Besh on the inside slot. Fernando looking left across the middle. Caught. Touchdown. Jack Besh. Fernando Mendoza, a rifle to Jack Besh, and the Raiders score 6. Touchdown, Las Vegas Raiders. That'll be a memory of my lifetime as a broadcaster. That's something I'll never forget. I was happy about that. There were a couple of sleepless nights hoping I'd get that call right. I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of guys on the field that you might not know of. You don't know where that ball's coming to. And to see it being Jack Besh and Fernando, I hope that's the beginning of something really good. And the comparison would be Hunter Renfrow in his prime. He had a very short prime in his NFL career with the Raiders, but Renfrow getting open inside the 5, 6, 7-yard line, that was Jack Besh. And Fernando threw a bullet low to the ground where Besh can only get it. He made the play. So Fernando's first touchdown. Were you there to see it? I'm proud that I got a chance to call it thanks to the Raiders, and I thought that is a memory. That's a good memory for Fernando Mendoza. That's his first touchdown there. So that's where we're at. I get some more sound bites a little bit later on in the show. But we want to get your analysis of what you thought of the game because we got a lot of Sharp fans here. Got a lot of Sharp fans in Raider Nation. And if you were at the game, I looked down. I had buddies who were there. Tom Brady's greeting and dapping up everybody. Max Crosby not playing but warming up. Ashton Genty. I had the pleasure of sitting on the bench on the field before the game, 2 hours before the game with Fred Biletnikoff. Freddie was down there. Freddie really likes the staff a lot, which is such a good sign when Fred Biletnikoff thinks your coaching staff is legit. So that was really cool. And I think Raider fans have to look at this uniquely. It's preseason. I've been there for a 4-0 undefeated Josh McDaniels preseason. Who gives a blank? I've been there for 3-1 preseasons, 4-0, 0-4. It doesn't matter, but you want to win every game you play. You're out there competing. They want to compete here. Clint Kubiak wants to win every time he goes out there, throws the hat on, is calling the plays. And I thought that Clint Kubiak called a really good game offensively, which you can judge there. And on the defensive side, you could make excuses for the defense because you can't give them praise for giving up 16 passes in a row, whatever the number was. You can't give them praise for that, but you can understand why something like that potentially could happen. And last thing I want to say is Arizona isn't bad. Arizona's got a hell of a running back room. Jeremiah Love, I'm not saying he's going to be this, so don't take this out of context, please. Jeremiah Love looked like Adrian Peterson in that preseason game at Allegiant Stadium. He looked like Adrian Peterson from the booth. And that guy is a beast. And they got James Conner. And they got some good backs. And they're going to run the ball. And they're going to be tough to tackle. Those guys are tough. And they got some receivers. Marvin Harrison Jr.'s touchdown was no joke in the back of the end zone. He made a big play. And, man, they've been desperate for him to play. They've been begging him to show up and not drop balls. And I thought he played impressively while he was there. So with that happening, let's hear what you have to say about all this. Let's wake up. The only one ready every day is Joe in Brooklyn. That's it. No one else is ready. I'm ready. I started 22 minutes ago. We got a lot of partners listening to the show here. 702-365-9200 on this Modelo Friday as we'll head out to Houston. I'll go to practice Monday with the Raiders, fly with the team. We'll fly back Thursday after the game. Vinny's in for me Monday, and then Q and I will be doing radio shows from Houston as Q's great setting that all up. That is not easy, setting all that up. So we'll be out there in Houston and looking for some exclusive content, some exclusive interviews to get everybody going here. But I'm not a big report card guy. I'm not, but it's August. It's summertime radio. I can do that in the summer. I could do that in the summer and say, hey, give me your grade on the game last night. I'd rather get your overall impression of the offense and the defense. And the whole world is talking about Fernando Mendoza, so we should also, obviously, here in the Raider Nation. Joe in Brooklyn. Start us off, Joe. What'd you think of the game last night? You're up first.
What's up, JT? I love the game. I didn't love the game, but listen, I love what I saw from Fernando. Went through his reads. You could see him scanning the field, going through his options. Listen, Kirk is way ahead of him, and that's understandable. I don't want Fernando to start, but I would like to see Fernando with the ones. I'm hoping next week Kirk could get one drive with the ones, and Fernando one drive with the ones, and then whatever with the twos. But I would like him to, I want to see him working with Tucker and Naylor and Bowers. You know what I'm saying? Get some film on that, get some reps with those guys, and see how he looks with number one. Eventually, he's going to be our number one quarterback.
Yeah.
Defensively, I'm a little worried just because the whole secondary is young. They're going to go through growing pains. It is what it is. McCoy hasn't played in over a year due to injury. Okay? Masses. I mean, our whole secondary is young. Besides, we have Johnson that's a vet, and Stokes. But the rest of our secondary, we have a lot of young guys. It's going to take time for them to get familiar with the NFL game. Listen, I'm okay with it. Listen, if let them learn, they're going to go through growing pains. Unfortunately, the defense is going to go through growing pains. Listen, I like Besh. If Besh could be our Jacoby Myers, a younger version. I don't need this guy catching 115 balls. I need him to get me a first down. Get me 45, 50 catches. 500, 600 yards, blocking for Genty and Mike Washington. That we'll get our receiver next year. We'll get our number one wide receiver next year. I don't think Tucker is part of the plan, but I like Besh as our number 3 guy, first down guy, tough yards, blocking, all that stuff. Besides that, I'm not, JPJ concerns me a little bit. I would like to see Rodgers get a start next week. He did miss a couple of blocks. The question's out on him. But, the offense looked good. Starting offense looked good. Offensive line looked a lot better. Hopefully we can roll with that. Let Fernando get some burn with the ones next week. And then, like I said, Raider fans, let's just be patient. We have a young secondary. We have a very young team. Quay Walker, Nicole Begin looks outstanding. But if those guys go down, I'm a little worried about the backups too. But overall, good game. Let's see how we do in Houston. Thanks, JC. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate the call. Look, there is not a lot of depth on this team yet. The good news is there's added depth on the offensive line. That's great news. Because John Spidek, from the guys last year who didn't get coached properly up front, that John Spidek still believes in are depth pieces, and they got Trey Zune, who's really good. He's going to be really good. So you're going to have good backup offensive linemen if someone gets dinged, or you got to move someone. You got to feel better about that. I don't feel lost anymore that the offensive line, man, the starting five last year were no good. So who cared about the backups? They didn't even play the backups. So now we know that they have a really good potential to have an improved offensive line with two studs in Tyler Linderbaum and Colton Miller. So that looks pretty good. And the backups, if they have to come in, Rodgers, Grant, Zune, whoever, you're going to be okay with. You'll be okay with that. We cannot say that about the corners. If Eric Stokes goes down, wow. So let me repeat what I tell you every year, that if you see a cornerback who gets cut from another team who's better than our corners, you go sign him. Good corners get cut every year for competition. Other teams like the Rams, the Seahawks, the Lions, whoever it is, the Bills, who are better than the Raiders, have better players in some positions. Not all of them make the team. They get cut. If you want to bring one over to develop other guys, or you could be a Raider fan who says, look, McCoy's going to be a stud. Who cares about one preseason game where Max isn't rushing? Who cares? Calm down. But, Zeke Masses is another guy who looked really good in practice. Last night was a game. That was a game, not practice. Okay, so you want to see how these guys can do. As I've said, I think it's from my buddy Chris West Oakland over the years having Modelo's in the parking lot in Oakland. Can we guard anybody? Can we guard a tight end? Can we cover anybody over the middle of the field? I think now we can. We, the Raider Nation, can now guard some people. But I got to see it in the games because Miami's watching the same tape you're watching. But fortunately, Robbie Leonard didn't put any pressure out there, didn't show anything. They have the ability to be so elaborate with this defensive scheme. Not as much as the offense, because Kubiak is a wizard in regards to drawing up plays. But I think Rob Leonard, from what he told us privately in our production meeting and what he can do with all the players, Stukes coming in, Masses, who he's going to move around, leaving certain players in, getting them off the field on third down, the growth of Tonka Hemingway. When they got everybody out there cooking, they're going to play better defense. But you can't come off last night and come and host a radio show and say you're excited. You're thrilled about the defensive performance last night. You just can't do that. Snake Man from the Carolinas. He's checking in on the flagship. Hello.
What's going on, JG?
Hey.
Real quick, two things. Jack Besh, listening to Kubiak today at his quick little after game press or whatever, he actually lit up when they asked him about Jack Besh. I haven't seen Kubiak smile, but it was a kind of a very wry smile. But he did say that Besh had an excellent camp, and they were very happy with him. And I think they know what they have in Jack Besh. Strong hands, A-plus hands. Guy's got just tremendous physicality, doing great blocker. I think they wanted to kind of just get
statewide, multiple Vegas locations, Centennial, South Las Vegas Boulevard, Decatur. Rainbow is where I love to go and more. You'll love watching sports there. You'll love their signature cocktails. I have the menu right here in front of me. Let me pull it out. Look at this menu for those watching on YouTube. They got everything here. How about this for today? How about a Riptide or Mai Tide or a Tide Rush or a Tide Water. Sounds good to me. We welcome Flowing Tide Pub to our show. Proud new partner, Danny and his team. They listen. They like what they do. We do. We'll be doing live broadcasts from there. They are a new proud partner of this show. Let's keep the phones going. I didn't book anybody today. Normally on Fridays. Who do I normally have on Fridays? We have Chris Matthews, the Dean of the Newsmen, Johnny Katz. Told them both I'm good today. Appreciate you, but I'm good. I'm just going to take some calls and play some of the sound of me calling the game with Matt Millen and Eric Allen and enjoy the Friday. No panic. Let's enjoy what we saw. We saw a preseason game at Allegiant Stadium. Let's get your critique of the game as we kick it off here on a Friday on Raider Nation Radio. The left side at tight end, Jack Best next to him. Trey Tucker, far left, and Jalen Naylor on the right side. Kirk looking left the whole way, throws it in the flat to Michael Mayer. He's got to make someone miss. That's a touchdown. Las Vegas Raiders, Big Mike. Michael Mayer makes the move. He's in the end zone. Touchdown. 6-0 Silver and Black. Man, EA was clapping there. Eric Allen and Matt Millen on the call with me last night. Jason Horowitz on the TV side with Fernando Mendoza's little brother who jumped in. That was pretty cool to see the great Rich Gannon and Kirk Morrison. JT, back with you. We are talking about the preseason game. Most sports talk shows don't talk about preseason games. We kind of have to because we're the flagship of an NFL team. Traditionally, I would not be doing this. I wouldn't be doing this on my night show. Wouldn't be doing it Sunday when I'm on. I would not be talking about this. I am all in on this because we're Raider Nation Radio. And we got partners here and we got Raider fans. But we want to talk about all of sports too. So as I tweeted out earlier today, how about the Dodgers? You think LA's got some sports issues? Ippei, remember the interpreter for Ohtani? Stole about $17 million and Ohtani knew nothing. Knew nothing. Now, if you took $17 from my bank account or $1,700, I wouldn't know either. If you took $17,000 from my bank account, my wife would know. My wife would say, "Hey, big night last night with your buddies. What'd you do? We're out 17 grand." If I lost 1.7 million, that'd be a problem too. So you got the Ippei thing where a lot of that money was washed in Vegas, wink, wink. Then you got Kawhi Leonard and him getting paid under the table, allegedly, with the owner, allegedly, and with the Clippers. And now you got Mark Walter selling the Lakers because it feels like he has to. I've done a lot of research on this Lakers story and Mark Walter of the Dodgers. We had a subprime meltdown that destroyed the real estate market. You might have lived through it. I did. It was actually great timing for me because that's when I came to Vegas. But it was bad timing for a lot of people. You never want to see people lose money. And a lot of people had 3 or 4 homes that didn't deserve to have 3 or 4 homes. They were leveraged. The subprime market, real estate collapse, and the world got turned upside down. Keep an eye on this insurance guy, Mark Walter, and how he's funding his life and his career owning the Dodgers. Because he just had to sell the Lakers in the middle of the night. So you got a lot happening in L.A., and not enough journalists other than Bill Platsky talking about it. And most of the radio hosts in L.A. are scared to death to talk to anybody because most of them work for some type of weird tyrant that might fire them if they mess something up. So you're not going to catch any of that. If you're one of our listeners in L.A., you're not going to get much in-depth team conversation about what's happening with the Dodgers on the Dodgers flagship. You think the guys on the Dodgers flagship radio station are going to knock out 8 hours of coverage on what happened to Mark Walter selling the Lakers? You think you're going to get any real honesty and transparency there? No, you think on the Clipper flagship? I don't even know if the Clippers have a radio station or not. You're not going to hear anything negative about Steve Ballmer. So guys like Pablo Torre and Front Office Sports and Forbes, a lot of other places are talking about, man, what is going on in L.A.? L.A. and sports is really interesting. 702-365-9200. Did you go to the game last night? Tell us what the game was like. How was it? Parking. I walked in and it was raining. It doesn't rain on the mean streets of Summerlin. We don't get rain. They only get rain in Henderson and by the stadium. I left. I drove in. It was beautiful coming from the 215 near Town Center. Gorgeous. Then I walked in, it was raining, man. It was raining over there by the stadium. So I don't know how that affected some of the tailgates, but I walked through the J lot, and the tailgate tents were all lined up. Looked like people were having a lot of fun. Raider Nation Drinking Club with Thor in Summerlin. Hello, Thor.
JT, my brother, man. Happy football is kind of back-ish day.
Yeah.
I was honestly, I don't do preseason games. Like, I'm not going. I care too much, and I put too much into game day that I can't do that for an extra couple games for preseason.
Okay.
But we definitely get together with people at the house, barbecue, drink. We want the Raiders to win, but don't really care about the outcome of a preseason game except health. And there were no major injuries, so I'm very happy. I'm very happy in a lot of things. I loved Jack Besh going out there and, like, taking a ball, like hands, getting a ball, being aggressive in that. I loved that the offensive line looked better. I mean, anyone can look at negative stuff, but I'm trying to look at the positive things. We have things to work on. We won 3 games last year, so there's a lot of things to work on. But there were a lot of positive things. Even the corners that you could be negative about, they had good position a lot of times. Go look at the film, and hey, maybe you need to get your head turned around a half a second earlier, like play the receivers, the eyes a little more to get turned around. But overall, I was pretty okay with the things that happened. I really don't care about the outcome of a preseason game except for health, and that was great. I had a great time yesterday. We had people over. We yelled Raiders. We drank. We kicked it. It was great. I'm just so happy football's back. JT, let's go, baby.
Thanks,
Raiders, baby. Yeah.
All right, man. I saw you on social media having some people over and barbecuing and having a lot of fun. The food. Clay, what is going on in the press box? I mean, what is Mark Davis paying to feed the masses? There were some of the best burritos I've ever seen, and then there was like a short rib thing going on, and like a chef working there. What was going on with that menu?
It was a short rib, braised beef, slowly cooked, nice thick portions. Like, why are you being so good to us? Like, and I appreciate all that. The food is phenomenal, but to start week 1 on preseason, that's a high standard, and then it's the desserts. There were like 3. They were the size of the Liberty Bell type German chocolate cakes.
Yes.
Prickly pear cheesecake.
Whoa.
Apple pie tacos. I've never seen anything like it. I thought Cake Boss was going to come out and give somebody some money.
Now, I don't do any desserts, never have. I'm not a dessert guy. I do all my damage on meat and potatoes, which, that happens, but I'm not a dessert guy. But, man, I've never seen a press box where people were so excited about desserts. I mean, everything's like a pudding or a cake or a carrot cake or something. This is a football game, and they're treating it's like a banquet. It's like going to a wedding up there.
Yeah, and they always try to outdo it each week that they get a chance to do something. They try to highlight it. There, even in the hot dog corner, there was a woman with chili that was willing to make you chili dogs and sprinkle on onions and cheese. I mean, I just want to thank everybody. I want to just shake hands with everyone and say thank you.
There are some people in the media who leave the game with boxes of candy. Like they feel like they're allowed to take home 11 boxes of M&Ms. I'm like, what are you doing? Like backpacks are getting filled with Twizzlers and all this. And I'm like, that's not yours. That's a gift from the Raiders there. That doesn't mean you could take home 11 boxes of giant peanut-sized M&Ms. And people do. I mean, look, just one serving, please. One serving, but not up at that press box, man. That thing was rocking at the David Hum broadcast booth. And that was really cool. There was a gentleman from Arizona who was looking up and said, "Who's David Hum?" And I overheard him. Said, "Who's David Hum?" They got a big picture of David Hum. I go, "He was my partner for 6 years, legendary Nebraska quarterback, legendary Bishop Gorman quarterback, Ken Stabler's backup, with all of his Super Bowl rings, and one of the greatest Raiders, pound-for-pound people of all time." And he said, "Well, thank you for sharing that." I had to go. He was Googling David Hum. I go, "You don't need to Google. I'll tell you about David." So it's really nice that we get to work in that atmosphere. It is a great atmosphere overall. So there's a lot of people talking about Fernando. We're going to do a Fernando segment coming up in a little bit. I want to go through his post game. I tell you, my wife is pretty sharp, and she's a season ticket holder. And we got home early, and we watched Fernando's press conference, and my wife is just looking at the TV like, this is incredible the way this gentleman talks, the way this kid handles himself and represents the Raiders. That's a female perspective. I have the same exact perspective. Kids have that perspective. Grandparents have it. I mean, he went to the podium last night and gave us more than I could ever remember. Now, remember, he's not going to be going to the podium if he doesn't play. And Kirk Cousins last night definitely played. Do we have that comment about what Kubiak said? Listen to this, because I didn't fall out of my chair when I heard this, but I said, ooh, oh boy, this got my ears up.
Yeah, well, Kirk's been getting the reps with the ones. I think he's had a solid training camp, and, it's his job to lose.
Ooh. Ooh. His job to lose? That's not what JT the Brick says in third person. This is his job. His job to lose? No, not from my perspective, but I'm nothing. I'm a pawn on the deck of the kings and queens. But his job to lose? That was a little bit interesting there. I don't believe if Kirk Cousins is healthy, he can lose this job. I don't believe that's possible. But I could be wrong. The coach just said it's his job to lose, Clay. Did that get your attention when you heard that a little bit last night or no?
Because when Kubiak speaks, he means a lot when he says a little. And he's very direct, but he'll answer your question very honestly. And I guess that's the fact. And maybe there's a shorter leash than we expected.
Grimaldi's is the best pizza I've ever had. When you talk about a pizzeria that started in Brooklyn over 100 years ago, sorry, Vegas, there's a lot of other pop-up spots that are pretty good. I haven't had anything like Grimaldi's. They have multiple locations, the Grand Canal Shops, Boca in Summerlin by me, Green Valley, and South Rainbow. So they do a lot in the community here. They got an unbelievable menu. Grimaldi's, best pizza I've ever had. We just came off a great remote. They are our proud partners. We take the show on the road to Houston next week for a couple of shows. Really excited about that as we get going here. 702-365-9200. More of your analysis of what you saw from the game. What'd you like about it? What didn't you like about it? You couldn't have been happy that Gardner Minshew tore us up. Oh, and he tore us up. That wasn't Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew was playing pitch and catch like he was at Field of Dreams. That can't happen again.
Back to the JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by Modelo Especial, the new #1 beer in the U.S.
Fernando, play action. Fernando looks down the middle. Benson catches it around the 40. Great play action by Fernando as he throws a strike right down the middle of the field.
That's exactly where it needed to be, too. It was in between the coverage. Ball comes out of his hand really nice. That's a really good throw.
Matt Millen there on the back end of my call on that. Really nice pass, Fernando play action to Malik Benson. Fernando, 10 of 16, 97 yards, a touchdown, a 100.3 passer rating. Cousins, 5 of 6 for 60 yards, a touchdown, a 141 passer rating. I mean, for the first two quarterbacks there, you got to be pretty excited about the way they performed there. And you can't have any argument in that. I mean, they didn't get hurt. They didn't throw an interception. If you're a glasses half empty person, let me say that again. You cannot be negative about the first team offense and the first two quarterbacks that went out there. They played really well. That's what you could hope for. 702-365-9200. Here's Jeff in Vegas on 920. Thanks for waiting. Jeff, go ahead.
JT, I have some information on the Mark Walter. If you're interested, it's funny. I've met you. I'm the guy who I'm friends with Otani's bookie, and I listened to your opening yesterday, and I thought, oh, my God. So I have money at Clear Spring Life, client money. I've worked in your business. I use some insurance products for fixed income.
Okay.
And that's owned. That's Guggenheim. Right? Walter is Guggenheim.
Okay.
Largest private equity firm on the planet. They have a lot of money, JT. They own a lot of insurance companies. He's being investigated by the feds on a tax issue.
Yep.
The feds don't investigate insurance companies. Those are state regulated in the states in which they operate. Other people have gotten into trouble, these ACAP and other of these big owners of insurance companies, by investing in sports franchises, not the size of the Lakers or Dodgers.
I got it, yeah.
But I think he's going to be clear. He could have needed to sell that if they needed to show capital on hand. But they have a lot of insurance properties, and I don't know what's,
Well, let me ask you
than-
this. Do you think the insurance industry globally at that level could have problems potentially or allegedly like the subprime market collapse or something collapsing in a financial marketplace? Do they have any risk and leverage where they might not have enough cash on hand and they might not be as liquid, and that's one of the reasons he had to sell? Could that be part of this?
That's possible,
Okay.
but unlikely. JT, the states guarantee these
Okay.
contracts up to, depending on the state, about $300,000. It's the states that watch what these guys do because they're on the hook for that if the companies go
Okay.
under. By the way, also real quick, the genius of Walter when they bought the Dodgers, they knew they needed to bring Irving in.
Right.
To be part of that. They gave him a controlling interest in another insurance company I have people's money with in Des Moines called Equitrust.
Okay, I got to wrap it up. We're at the top of the hour. Sorry. You sound like you're really sharp on this overall. It seems like you understand there's a concern, but you think the industry and what the Guggenheim Group is doing with Mark Walter, they are solvent enough that they don't have to be forced to sell the Dodgers after. A lot of people think there was pressure in about 72 hours to sell the Lakers. Developing hot, ... Welcome back, everybody. JT here to go. One more hour for the week. I'm in Houston. Next week, Vinny is in for me on Monday. We travel Monday after Raiders practice. I'll be back Friday. We'll do 2 shows, and we'll have a game out there in Houston. So excited about that. If you want to be a part of our coverage next week, just be listening, watching. Go to our YouTube feed. I don't know if I'm going to be bringing the feed. I got to figure that out because we're going to be in a hotel there. I got some equipment to bring, so we'll figure that out. But we're going to have a trip to Houston after the Raiders lost last night in their first preseason game. I don't think a lot of people are concerned about the score, but football players want to win. You don't lace them up and go out there and put your brain and body in jeopardy to lose. You want to win. But they didn't win last night, and I've seen teams go 4-0 and 0-4, and it never matters. It never matters. Other teams in the past have got on a roll, maybe at the end of preseason. This is a work in progress. This was arguably the worst team in football last year, the number 1 pick overall for a reason. They had a lot of problems, and it looked like they cleaned up many of those problems, but they still have a few left. They have to figure out the depth issue. I don't think this roster is set. I think that this roster can get better by signing other players potentially on cutdown day. John Spytek has a board with his staff, and they know the players who will fit this system, and they know the players who might get cut, might not be there. There's an art to trying to protect your players who don't make it on the 53 to try to get them on the practice squad. There could potentially be some players at a discount that the Raiders can bring in as starters. I thought the offensive line played okay. I did. I saw a really good offensive line push. I was looking for that. Matt Millen and I were talking about it before the game. We were up there watching the O-line, and Matt was saying, I want to see this offensive line get off the ball and get their hands on people and move them backwards. We saw that with Tyler Linderbaum. That was fantastic. I was excited to see this offensive line with the beginning of a new identity. What will that identity be? Fernando played really good. I thought he played above average. The stats prove it, and Kirk Cousins was excellent. Was absolutely excellent. So with all that being said, what'd you think? Jump on in, 702-365-9200. What I like to do on Friday, especially in the summer, is tell some stories. Did you tailgate? Where'd you sit? Were you able to give your tickets up? Did you bring kids in the neighborhood? We try to tell stories, man. I can't tell your story unless you tell me. How was parking? How was the traffic? How was getting in and out of there? Was it easy? Did you take a ride share? Did you walk in the rain over the Hacienda Bridge? What'd you do? What do you like about going to the preseason games? And some people don't want to go to the preseason games. I get it. Just make sure you get your tickets to someone who will go. I'm not the ticket police anymore, man. It drove me nuts for the first 4 or 5 years seeing opposing fans or empty seats. I control myself and my family. I'm a season ticket holder. And if you're a season ticket holder, I hope you give your tickets away and just don't let them sit. The Niner game, there's going to be a lot of Niner fans here. Niner fans want to come and watch their team play in Las Vegas. They're going to do that this year. They're not playing in Vegas this year. We're playing in Santa Clara. So expect some Niner fans to come here. All right, as we keep going here at 702-365-9200, if you got an opinion on the quarterbacks, I'd like to hear that because the whole world is talking about the quarterbacks. This is the Fernando Mendoza flagship station. So I think there should be some Fernando calls after his first touchdown. I had the pleasure of calling his touchdown to Jack Besh. Here it is, and I was looking forward to doing this. I didn't know who would end up getting it. I didn't know if it was going to go to a running back or a wide receiver. I would have guessed it would have been Malik Benson, maybe along the way, but he found Jack Besh. On a third down, a little bit of pressure. Fernando looking right the whole way. Going up in the air for an outstanding catch again is Jack Besh. Enough for a first down, and this is what we've wanted to see from Jack Besh. Be that possession receiver on third down, EA, and he comes through and makes a big catch for Fernando Mendoza. All right, that was Mendoza's first completion to Besh. Here's the touchdown as he was able to find him, and I think this is big because the ball came out perfectly. He made the right read. The touchdown, this is the touchdown to Jack Besh. Do we have it, Clay? We will find it here in a minute, and we'll get going with that. 702-365-9200 as we continue on. We have it. Here it is. Besh on the inside slot. Fernando looking left across the middle. Caught. Touchdown. Jack Besh. Fernando Mendoza. A rifle to Jack Besh. And the Raiders score 6. Touchdown. Las Vegas Raiders. All right. So that's it. What'd you think of Fernando, Kirk Cousins? And do you believe there's a glimmer of hope that Fernando Mendoza can start? I'm not doing that much. I think it's Kirk Cousins' team until he loses. I think he's going to have plenty of time to start, win games here, especially with the schedule early. If he's able to navigate that schedule early and win, it's all of a sudden if he beats Miami, beats New Orleans, how about beating the Chargers? I'm not a big fan of Mike McDaniel. I'm not drinking the Charger Kool-Aid. I never do. I've been right. The national media has been wrong. Every year, the Chargers this time of year, and mostly in July, they drive around with a little caravan with stuffed animals and bagels and croissants, and they go by every radio station and tell you how good they're going to be. That's what the Chargers do. I never buy into it. I've been right. They've been wrong. Eventually, the Chargers are going to win. Eventually, they're going to win because they got good players. I just hope it isn't this year. Ruben in Vegas. Thanks for waiting, Ruben. You're up next on the flagship of the Raiders. Go ahead.
Really good. It felt really good being in that stadium again for the first time after last season.
Mm-hmm.
I am optimistic as a lifelong Raider fan with the coaching staff and Mr. Fernando Mendoza at the helm. Well, Kurt at the helm first. Mm-hmm. Just optimistic, man. Just hopefully we have a good season as a lifelong Raider fan. Number 7 in Vegas, number 12 for me here in Vegas. Just optimistic, man. Just excited. Like I said, it was fun to be in that stadium yesterday. It was cool not seeing the whole – I get it's preseason, but it was cool not seeing opposite fans taking over the stadium, let alone the Cardinals. They're a strong fan base. But it just felt good being in the stadium overall.
Good. Good. Appreciate the call. I'm happy you went. Man, that's all I can ask for you to do is the heart and soul of my radio shows have always been, did you go to the game? If you went to the game, call me and tell me how it was. That's what I've been doing for 30 years. How was it? Did you enjoy yourself? Did you have a good time? What'd you think of the game? Are you critical? Are you optimistic? Are you negative? Are you happy? That's what I do here. I think we do it at a high level. We're just wondering what your opinion is about everything. Because God knows you get my opinion. I give it every second of the day. Some people think It's not enough. I came off the most critical season I've ever had in Raider history. If you didn't respect my opinions last year and transparencies, I can't help you. There's no help. You have JT derangement syndrome. If you don't remember what I went through last year doing these post-game shows and what we had to cover and the way this team played. It couldn't have been more honest to keep my job. It was rough last year. I'm hoping it's not rough this year. I hope it's great. I'm optimistic it could be vastly improved. The Black Hole is home to football's most notorious fans. With over now 50 chapters worldwide, you become a member of the Black Hole by going to theblackhole.com and get ready. 20% off all website purchases, and you want to go to their big party. Their kickoff party's a monster. Warren G and Too Short. Palms Pool. I'll be there. It's going to be incredible. It's one of the biggest Raider parties ever assembled by the Black Hole, and it's in Vegas. And you can think of other parties, do whatever you want. This is the big one. We'd love to see you there. Tickets available. Go to theblackhole.com. Go to theblackhole.com. Get access to members-only merchandise and be the first to know about all of their upcoming events. Opens up a line. There should never be an open line. 702-365-9200. Let's get to the Mendoza post-game on his thoughts as he met the media. It was his first game as an NFL quarterback, even though it's the preseason. Here's what he thought.
Him scoring many touchdowns in the regular season.
Yeah, that's nice. It wasn't about him. It's not about Mendoza. It's about his teammates. And we've been seeing that on Hard Knocks with Seattle. And we've been hearing it from Clint Kubiak, the head coach of the Raiders. Get rid of the I, talk about the we. Who do you ever know better as a rookie than Fernando Mendoza to talk about that? His expectations coming in, how he felt, and what he thought about it after the game.
Yeah. I would say they are what I thought they would be. I was able, especially as a quarterback, you don't want to get too emotional because you want to be able to process, make the right checks, make the right reads. And I felt that it was good emotion getting in the huddle with my guys, in a sense, being able to break through and finally play a snap in the preseason, which is going to be faster than, practice, just how it is with adrenaline, and then the regular season gets faster than that, and on and on. So I think it was a good experience to get my feet wet. But I mean, overall it was a good experience to get my feet wet.
Yeah, he was self-critical of himself also, but I liked what he talked about the speed of the game because he was able to handle the speed of what happened at Indiana and the Big Ten and the playoffs and the national championship game. The NFL is a little bit faster.
Yeah, I would say that the speed, also not having played, all of us haven't played football in a little while, so I think the speed's always going to be a little amped up, and I thought, the guys did great out there today. There was one play where I scrambled to the right, and usually sometimes I'll be able to get the edge, maybe scramble for 2 or 3 yards, and it's like, wow, you guys are a little faster than I thought. I'm not going to be able to get around them, so I had to throw the ball away and try to make the smart play to best serve my teammates. So I would say definitely faster and they hit harder. So surprise, but no surprise.
Yeah, I remember that play where he threw it out of bounds and there was no one open and he had to throw it away. And that's what an NFL quarterback does. They know risk reward. And he's got a big arm. He can make all the throws, but there are going to be times where he probably just wants to throw the ball away. More from Fernando on the coaching staff as they prepped him since he's been drafted throughout camp, OTAs, to be ready for last night.
Yeah. They have Coach Dinoco, Coach Kubiak, and Coach Sullivan. They all have a very high standard, and that's a standard that I want to one day get to, and that I know our entire offensive unit and team wants to get to. And I did not meet that standard tonight. I know a lot of our offensive players most likely did. You got to watch the film, and that's a standard that I think that's the best type of coaching. Where they're not going. They're gonna hold you accountable and hold you to a high standard.
And then finally on his preparation and what he thinks about, I thought this was a very unique answer from the podium about what goes into the life of Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah. I'll just take you through my routine today. Today, just my routine that I've had. And like Coach Sullivan, quarterback coach, says that your routine evolves. And right now, the routine I have placed that I had in college, but evidently, if someone learning from Kirk's Kirk's routine has evolved throughout his career. And so there's things I look on taking, whether it's what time you get to the stadium. For example, I drove to the stadium today, and that was the first time I've ever done that, because usually in college, you just hop on the bus. It's very regimented. So there's a lot more autonomy that you get as an NFL player, a lot more flexibility, and I think that's going to be beneficial in the future. It goes with going to the facility. We have walkthroughs, then taking a little nap, then we have team lunch, making sure I'm praying and meditating. I do, a whole prayer, and then I do a little bit of a guided meditation to try to soothe my mind down and my senses down, because very amped up for the game. However, I need to take my activation level, let's say out of 10, I try to take it to around a 6. So it gets to like 7.5, 8 of the game where I'm ready and firing. Because if I'm at a 10 out of 10, then I'm just going to be out there like going crazy, running around, throwing the ball, just we wouldn't want that. And comes in here, and we have a great training staff, so doing tissue work with the training staff, getting stretched out, and then talking to the equipment staff, and they have done a great job as well today. And it's great to learn from them. Like, hey, here's the ball's going to be in the first quarter, second quarter. Hey, here's your, and just different mechanics. So it was good getting my feet wet, kind of routine based, and having some elements that I've kept, and the elements I say, okay, I have this 30 minutes here. What should I do with it when we play Houston? What should I do with it when we play the Niners? And so I'm looking forward to leaning on those guys, especially the veterans, on how they do it, now having experienced a game day, quote unquote.
Wow, that's pretty heavy. Clay, we both have sons. I mean, can you imagine your son or my speaking like that at that age, and how eloquent that was as he went through that and took us down this unbelievable deep rabbit hole into what he does and how he tries to get himself up and meditate and do all that. That was incredible.
Yeah, if anybody felt like you didn't know if Mendoza was genuine enough, they took you right through a very heartfelt, very honest approach of his own critique of the game, his biggest game up to his point yet. And at the same time, he's somebody humble enough to let you know, I'll take you into my private side and let you know what I'm like.
Yeah, he gave us a lot. It was fantastic. And what I find interesting, there's two things that I take away from the podium sessions. Kirk Cousins spoke and Fernando spoke. So let's get to Fernando first. Fernando will probably not speak again until he plays in the regular season. Now, he might speak after the Niner game. I don't know how much he's going to play, or Houston. But you're not going to see that again. I cannot imagine that he is going to talk that long in the preseason at the podium. Not that there was anything wrong with it. I thought it was brilliant. I loved it. My wife was in shock. She just looked at me. We were sitting watching it going, man, this is cool. We've been with the Raiders our whole marriage. We've heard every quarterback speak. Okay? I've heard the you know guys and the other guys who pointed fingers. This is completely different than anything I'm used to. And I know there's Raider fans who've been around longer than me. You don't remember Stabler's podium sessions to the degree. Stabler after the Super Bowl was brilliant, right? But what Fernando's doing, and he hasn't even played a real game yet, is crazy. Crazy. So this is spectacular to have this content. I mean, it's a dream come true. I hosted the Derek Carr show for a year when Derek won 12 games. He was fantastic with me. He came on every week, and then he broke his ankle, and it ended. And once it ended, we were all sitting there, and we were like, what's going on? So that's the case there. When we come back, we'll get more into Clint Kubiak. I want to play a bit of his presser. He met the media earlier today and what he had to say, and I think he's going to be pretty critical of the team. We are brought to you by Michael E. Minden Diamond Jewelers. He's my jeweler. Michael's been my jeweler for a while, and he's proud partner of our training camp as we go to Houston, and we got the 49ers coming to town, and we're coming off this great game. Family owned since 1988. So if you have any issue, you want to buy an expensive piece of jewelry or a competitive piece of jewelry, diamonds, gold, whatever you need, watches, Michael E. Minden, second floor, Fashion Show Mall. He'll personally treat you great. And that's all I care about. I want to send people to friends who know how to take care of people. And if you want to turn in some gold, you need a little bit of money, you want to trade something in, a watch, a ring, he would love to talk to you about that. Michael E. Minden, proud partner of our show. When we come back, we'll hear about what Clint Kubiak thought the day after. He didn't go to the podium. He went to the Zoom and what he had to say. He's not going to talk a lot. He's going to give you great information quickly. I'm excited to talk to him this season. Fernando going to hand it off to Washington Jr. up the middle. He's got room. He kicks it out to the left. He's going down the left side. 40, 30, 20. Can he come inside? Brought down at the 13-yard line. There was the burst when he found the hole. Bounced out to the left for a big gain. That's a 53-yard gain from Mike Washington Jr. So you can look and say, well, it's a preseason game. Well, that was one of the best runs in preseason Raider history for Mike Washington Jr. And now, look, I want to be careful here, Clay, because I remember Zamir White. And I got a bunch of my buddies who are Georgia fans. And we're like, oh, my God, wait till you see Zamir White. He is going to be the thunder and lightning. And it didn't work. And I'm surprised. And I think it didn't work because I don't know if he got too big, if he wasn't fast enough, or he just wasn't what we thought. I think he could be a good player in this league. But, Clay, when you see Mike Washington Jr., don't you feel I don't want Ashton to come off the field a lot, but he's going to have to. And I think if he comes off the field and this guy gets the ball on 2nd and 6, he can run for 13, 14 yards and give Ashton a spell to get some rest.
I mean, keep the offense on the field longer. And what was wrong with Charlie Garner and Tyrone Wheatley and Zach Crockett, just outrunning everybody and just wearing people out on the run game? That's what I would like to see, because that looks like a winning formula in the NFL now.
You nailed it there. Zach Crockett, John Ritchie, Charlie Garner, Tyrone Wheatley. Raiders had multiple players who can run the ball and do it well. That's a really important point. Raider Dave in Denver with his analysis coming off the first preseason game. Hello, Dave.
Hey there. Thank you very much. I appreciate the ability to burn up a little bit of your time. I don't want to take too much. I want other callers to get in here. But you and I are on perfect alignment about the most important thing that we need to see this season, and besides the quarterbacks, I guess, but it's got to be the run game. And so that's the one stat I wanted to look at, and I figured out it was over 7 yards a carry. I don't care if it's one big, long run. I don't care if it's a bunch of them that are 8 yards a run. But I wanted to see that number be over 4.5 per carry, and I'll be darned if they didn't do it. And I think that's a lot of credit to the work and the personnel that they put on this offensive line, how hard they've been going at it. The only thing that was kind of disappointing to me, besides some penalties and a couple weird things, was that I guess the communication wasn't there for AOC's receivers, but he did not look great. And I thought for sure that when they come in, third quarter, whatever, fourth quarter, when he's going to play out there, I figured he'd be, pretty darn sharp, and maybe they get another score out of it. But it just didn't happen. So I expect that to change next week. Appreciate the time, man. Thanks.
Yeah, I didn't think Aiden O'Connell stood a chance. I didn't. When he was backed up against the end zone and he was basically at the 1 yard line and hit Dorsett in the face mask, and that was a bit of a mess. And I thought Philip Dorsett struggled in that series, and Aiden didn't have much of a chance overall. I cannot speak highly enough about Aiden O'Connell and what he's been through. All the coaches, head coaches, coordinators. Wow. I mean, he beat Kansas City in that game. He didn't complete a pass after the first quarter, but they won. And Aiden just handles it all like a pro. He's got a chance to be a good player in this league. I just don't know how long it's going to be here, because it's Fernando's team pretty soon after Kirk Cousins gets the opportunity to play. And I don't think Aiden should settle being a backup quarterback. But he's very important here because, God forbid, Cousins gets hurt. If you want to put Fernando in games early in the season, you better have Aiden O'Connell to back him up. You have to keep Aiden around. He's very important. I think he's a big part of the growth of Fernando Mendoza. Clint Kubiak zoomed in earlier today on the flagship of the Silver and Black. Here's what he had to say.
Hey, Coach. My question is, in regards to Dante Thornton, do you expect him to return to the field soon? And as for Decamerion Richardson, was his absent yesterday injury related?
For DT, yes, we do expect to get him back. He's been banged up a little bit, but we're expecting him to get back on the field and see some action in the preseason at some point here. And DCam had a baby, so he was excused.
Clint, you obviously have a large number of UDFA players that have been playing at a very good level. After watching the film, could you discuss that UDFA class and maybe some guys that stood out to you, please?
Yeah, for sure. Kean on defense has done some good stuff. We got at the wide receiver position, we got a few guys that have showed up between Chase and our young man from Indiana that got some good snaps yesterday. Um, you know, Overall, those are kind of the guys that come to mind. Someone I'm missing that you're thinking of, that's not on the tip of my tongue. But I think, there's potential for those guys at the bottom of the roster to show what they can do on special teams and try to help us. So that'll be a good thing to watch too in the last two games.
Clint, Fernando said after the game that he was going to go watch the video last night. First of all, what does it say about his commitment? But second of all, is there any concern about, especially with the young player, information overload?
That doesn't surprise me that he would go watch a tape. I think probably a lot of our guys did. A lot of the coaches, the way technology is these days, you don't have to come back to the facility. You can keep your iPad with you and go watch the reps. But as far as our quarterbacks, they're expected to handle a lot of information and to process it all. So I think you push them mentally and see how much their bucket can hold. And him and Aiden and Jacob and Kirk, those guys can, they can carry a lot of information.
Good morning, Coach. Especially for these rookies and even in the secondary, obviously with some struggles, it was their first time going up against somebody else not wearing silver and black. How important is this tape going to be for them as they continue to learn and grow?
Very important, we wanted to put them in a lot of man coverage situations. We have some decisions to make. So, it's important that, we see these guys cover, and, it's great for Jamad to go out and get that experience, his first football in a year. I still can't say enough great things about what he's done to get himself physically to this point. I'm really proud of him. And, last night he got back to football and got a few thrown on him, but he's going to be better for it. So we'll just keep improving.
Hi, Clint. So Fernando seemed to kind of focus a lot on some of his mistakes last night. Do you think maybe he was being a little too hard on himself, or do you like that he was really honing in on that stuff?
That's just, those, to me, those the best quarterbacks I've been around are the ones that are hard on themselves. They put the finger on them before they put it on their teammates. I think he played good football last night. He's going to continue to get better.
Hey, Clint. Last night in the third quarter, Arizona had a 4th and 2 where they picked it up right at the sticks, where you could have potentially challenged. Not asking why you didn't or why you did. I just wanted to know about your process. Did it work out the way you wanted in terms of communication from the booth and the way that you guys had kind of planned to go about that? I know the Cardinals hurried up and got to the line right away, so they didn't have much time. But I just want to know if your process went the way that you kind of wanted in terms of those kind of communications.
Yeah, I think overall I was really happy with our process, and we'll keep improving as these next games go, getting ready for Miami.
Coach, we saw Trey Zoom play mainly at right tackle last night. We know we've seen him move around quite a bit during practice. What went into the decision for him to play right tackle last night?
We have moved him around quite a bit, and that's what we drafted him to do. And that's a position that we wanted to see him get live reps in a game with. So that was the plan going in.
Hey, Clint. So the number one thing, or at least something that was noticeable about the defense, was that the pass rush really didn't get going until the second half. Obviously, not having Max played a factor in that, but what do you plan to do as far as helping out the pass rush moving forward as we continue along?
Yeah, third down was not good enough last night in that first half, and when you're not, I thought Arizona did a really good job too of attacking man coverage, and they made some plays on the ball. So the coverage and the pass rush has to work together, and we'll continue to improve it.
Clint, could you talk about that right guard battle? What you're seeing so far? Is it to you? Is there a leader? Are they still tied in a battle? Can you just kind of give us your analysis after the game, please?
Yeah, I've been really pleased with how both of those guys are playing. They're making each other better, and they're making decisions hard on us. But it also means we're continuing to build solid depth. So JPJ and Caleb, they're both playing winning football, and they're both improving, and we're going to continue to coach them to improve them.
Hi, Coach. Jack Besh obviously made a couple of nice catches, but he also, if you're looking at the tape, he laid a few pretty good blocks in there. Do you look at what he did in that game and kind of use that as a good example for everyone of kind of a complete game?
Yeah, he's a guy that has been highlighted before in our team meetings as a guy that plays really well without the football, and just so happens that when the ball finds you, he goes and makes plays. I don't think that's an accident. I think that's the kind of guy that he is, the kind of teammate that he is. Was really proud of the contested plays and critical situation plays that he made last night. That doesn't surprise me about Jack. That's what his character is.
There was some missed tackles by the defense, and I know that you're not in practice tackling to the ground. How do you clean that up, but still be practicing and take care of your guys in practice?
Yeah, major area of emphasis. We gotta get better there, and we gotta get very creative as a coaching staff with how we get that done in practice, and we will.
Clint, a follow-up on Fernando. You mentioned you felt like he played a good game last night. Did anything pop on the film about his performance that maybe you didn't necessarily see right after the fact last night?
Yeah, I think the thing that just stood out for me again is that we put a lot on his plate and all the quarterbacks' plate getting ready for this preseason game, and he went out and executed the way that he does in practice. Some guys, they get to the game and things change on them and it moves fast and they freak out. And he was the opposite. He was very calm. He was getting the calls in. He was seeing coverage well. I like the way that he moved in the pocket. Got outside and extended some plays. So, I think that Fernando has had a really good week of practice, and the things that he did in the game are the things I've seen him do in practice. So he's consistent. The consistency from the position is important, and I didn't see any game day surprises just because the moment was a little bit bigger. He was the same guy.
Clint, with your analytical nature, as you were looking at the film today, was there anything that pleasantly surprised you that from field level either you didn't notice or maybe thought was worse than the film actually told you it was?
I think the thing that stands out to me, analytically or not, is our penalties. We really hurt ourselves. We put ourselves in some negative situations, and that's not playing football. Offensively, the fact that we didn't turn the ball over is always good. As something that didn't stand out last night, but offensively, you can't go into a half of football and not score points. So we didn't help the defense there. We weren't playing team football in that second half.
Last two, Heidi and Ryan.
Hi, Coach. I'm wondering, when you take this team out into Houston in a different setting, environment for practices, what are you hoping that they benefit from that experience?
Oh, I'm really excited about next week. It's it's going to be extremely competitive. What a really great defense that we're going to be going against. Those pass rushers are impressive. Our offensive line is going to get some great work. Being out there in the heat, a different kind of heat, will be a great challenge for us in our conditioning. This trip to Houston couldn't have come at a better time for our team.
Coach, based on Fernando's performance last night, do you anticipate kind of like the practice reps to change a little bit moving forward? Do you see him getting more first team reps after his performance, or are you guys going to kind of remain what you guys been doing so far?
We're going to put a plan together this week, and that's something that we're talking about as a coaching staff right now. But I'm really, whether it's Aiden O'Connell, Kirk, or Fernando, I would say all three of those guys deserve first team reps. But we got to go put a plan together on how we're going to split them up.
All right. That's interesting. That is Clint Kubiak. My big takeaway is that he didn't like the penalties. We all know that. Coaches despise penalties. And the guys are going to get an earful for that. I would imagine they're going to get an earful for the penalties. And that's not winning football. And over the years, the Raiders have been a roller coaster when it comes to penalties. And how many coaches did we interview talking about needing to clean it up? It's the one term I despise in football. We need to clean it up. Well, it's supposed to be cleaned up in practice. and in OTAs and training camp and the week of preparation before regular season games. And I'm not talking about this coach because he hasn't coached the regular season game yet, but a lot of coaches from Andy Reid to Sean Payton will all go to the podium on a Monday after a Sunday game and go, we need to clean up the penalties. Penalties are a big portion of this. I think the Raiders were super sharp on offense last night. They were a little bit sloppy on defense because they didn't show a lot on defense. So they had, I wouldn't say the inability to make plays, but you don't have Max Crosby out on the field rushing. You're not blitzing. You're not doing certain coverages because you don't want Arizona to see it. You're not going to see explosive plays. You're not going to see as many. But you can see them in the offense because Clint Kubiak scripted some really nice plays. Clay Baker, what is our summer of fun word of the day today so everybody can get going here and text in before the end of the show?
Yeah, the word of the day is hotel, Hotel. For your last kick at the can of the summer of fun, our last entry for the 4-night stay at a hotel resort in Hawaii. Flights are included. Text the word hotel, 702-365-9200. Thanks again to Terribles and Raider Nation Radio 920.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this great promotion. That sounds like one big-time trip. Do not miss out today. Q's coming up next on the other side. I'd like to hear from you before we wrap it up, 702-365-9200. You heard from Fernando Mendoza. What did Kirk Cousins think? I thought he played well. Kirk's got to be excited. But I don't think preseason games gets him that excited. I think he saves that for big, big games that could be difference makers. Kirk Cousins' reaction last night after what I thought was a really solid performance.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by the DeCasta Verde Law Group. If you get injured in an accident, call 702-222-9999.
Michael Mayer on the left side at tight end, Jack Best next to him, Trey Tucker far left, and Jalen Naylor on the right side. Kirk looking left the whole way, throws it in the flat to Michael Mayer. He's got to make someone miss. That's a touchdown. Las Vegas Raiders, Big Mike. Michael Mayer makes the move. He's in the end zone. Touchdown. 6-0 silver and black.
Yeah, well, Kirk's been getting the reps with the ones. I think he's had a solid training camp, and, it's his job to lose.
Well, that was a nice touchdown of Michael Mayer. And Michael Mayer in space, he should always be in space because he's not going to be double-teamed like Brock Bowers. He shouldn't be. That's the only issue you have with the Raiders. They don't have a wide receiver that you have to double-team. Other than Brock, you don't have to double-team Jalen Naylor or Trey Tucker or Jack Bash. But Michael Mayer will be single-covered, and he can get guys to miss. Adam Schefter's had a busy day. He wrote that Falcons edge rusher, Falcons are having a rough offseason. James Pierce Jr. suspended by the NFL for 8 games due to violating the league's personal conduct policy when he was arrested on domestic violence charges in February. So that story is out. Bills defensive tackle, Fedarian Mathis, suspended 3 games for violating the NFL substance abuse policy. Titans cornerback, Najee Johnson, suspended 6 games for violating the NFL's policy against performance-enhancing drugs. NFL suspended Commanders defensive end Dorrance Armstrong 1 game for violating the personal conduct policy. He's coming off a torn ACL he suffered in week 7 of last year. So you're always worried about injuries. And hey, man, if you're taking something, a performance enhancer, they're pretty good at catching you, especially in this era of the NFL. You see that happen all the time. A couple of Kirk Herbstreit talked about Mendoza. This was interesting, and what he learned from the game here, the challenges along the way.
Mendoza had some moments that I heard you talk about, kind of learning, getting under center, turning his back, on those play action, which was a big part, obviously, in the NFL with the run game and that play action game. I thought he played in rhythm. I think where he's going to learn is when he plays off schedule. He's going to have to either check it down or make quicker decisions, obviously, when he goes up to that level. At Indiana and in the Big Ten and even in the playoff, he was able to improvise. I think a lot of people were surprised, even in the national title, when he took off and had that clinching touchdown, that he had the legs to be able to do that. He's going to have to, again, just kind of learn how much faster things happen. That throw is
Nasty.
in rhythm. You could say, well, if the ones were in there, he's not going to. That's a tight window. He felt it and got it out with one hitch. I mean, that's exceptional, really. I mean, those are the throws you got to make. You're not making those throws in college. That's an open window that he's going to have to get comfortable with, and he will. I think his set with Cousins there, learn from him, sit back and watch, really couldn't have been more ideal for his development and coming along.
Yeah, a lot of people are praising his development and how he played in the game. I'm good with that, too. I'm not going to go crazy when Kirk Cousins or Fernando Mendoza complete a pass in a preseason game, but both of them looked really good. We have some Kirk Cousins post-game from last night, and I thought he felt really comfortable. He talked about the ease. Like, this is a veteran quarterback who came into many preseason games, and this is just him showing up to work.
It felt smooth. I was proud of the offensive line, the communication, the receivers. We made a check at one point. Everybody got the check, did what they were supposed to do. I thought Clint did a great job of getting the play call in early, communicating well, so we weren't up against the play clock. And guys played hard, did their assignments, made plays, and that's what it's about. And so small sample size, but always good to get out there and move the football and score points.
Yep, that's what he was there for. He's new to the Raiders. He's playing there. Last year he played with Atlanta. He did not play well in that game, but he looked good last night. He talked about being back with Coach Kubiak for the great connection they had in Minnesota.
Great question. This is going to sound weird, but I enjoyed hearing his voice again, in a game and being able to get the play call. It brought back memories of 21, and it's kind of fun to be full circle back with him again. And, he's very urgent, very intentional, very detailed. He's a great listener. And, I felt that going into this game and through the game with the way he operates. And I think it was a big reason, his demeanor, his approach, his preparation, his organization is a big reason why I think I played well with him in 21 and back in 19 and 20 as well when he was a QB coach. And I think it's a big reason, why we would be able to have success together this year is because of his approach.
And last one, he was asked another question about Fernando Mendoza, about the advice he's giving him. I want to play this not because I agree with it. I just want to make my point after.
Yeah, I just let him be. I don't know that I give him advice. I don't pull him aside and say, hey, come here from my wisdom. I think he's a pretty smart, mature player and person, and if anything, I don't want to get in his way. I think he knows what he's doing and has a good feel, and I don't want to overload him. And so if ever I am observing, if I feel like I can offer a quick nugget here or there, I will. He's a great question asker, so a lot of times he'll just ask. But there's also times where I say, hey, nothing needs to be said. Go do your thing. You got it. So he's, there's a lot of good football up ahead for him.
I don't believe, and everybody has their different style. I do my show my way. Other people ask different questions. I can't believe Kirk Cousins is still getting asked questions about Mendoza. Am I the only one who brings this up? He's the starting quarterback. It was cool in the beginning when they did the brothers, right? They were wearing the T-shirts and Step Brothers and all that. I mean, he's been answering a lot of questions about Mendoza, and I don't know why. It's the preseason now. It's his job. But Clint Kubiak said his job to lose. So will we hear more questions about Mendoza or less? I think Kirk Cousins has the respect to go forward and for everybody to believe in him to get ready for the Miami game. Q's coming up next. He's got a great show for you. Vinny's in for me on Monday. We'll catch you here on Tuesday from Houston. Looking forward to seeing the team practice against the Houston Texans and tell you what we see there.